Welcome to What No One Knows, the podcast that tells the secret behind the published books, hosted by Lisa Marie Garcia, the Chief Operating Officer of Now Publishing, a full-service book publishing and author PR firm. Through the years in the publishing industry, we've heard the statement over and over, "This is what no one knows," when we interview would-be authors wishing to tell their story. This is what this podcast is all about. And now to our podcast and our host, Lisa Marie Garcia.
Hello there. Thank you for listening to another episode of our podcast, What No One Knows. I'm Lisa Marie Garcia, and thank you for joining. We're very excited today to talk to the published author, Suzette Phillips, of the book called, and there's an exclamation point, so I'm going to say the title, Get Out of the Corporate Cave. Leadership for the Real World. Very excited to have Suzette with us. Welcome, Suzette. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we're really excited to just dig in here. I have read your book. Very fun, great book for business people, and I'm so happy that you are sharing this book with the world. So first of all, I got to tell you, I love the cover of the book. I've never seen something like this, and it's a picture of a cave. We'll actually have the book front cover for our listeners when we publish this podcast. But how did you come up with the concept of being in a corporate cave? And I think once someone reads your book, they can understand from where you came and why you're writing this. Can you just share a little bit about that theme within your book? It's just so creative.
Well, too many times when you're in the corporate world, you have this vision in your mind, or I should say some shadows that you're seeing of how something is or you think it is. And so I wanted to incorporate that into my book cover, and you kind of live in a cave in my perspective of, the world running its business in one way, but then when you actually get to see what what the shadow really is, it changes the whole thing. So coming out of the corporate cave and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and trusting your gut feeling, because I have this wonderful, beautiful crystal in the middle, and you trust your feelings, and the crystals help you get your gut feeling. So you go ahead and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it all just kind of played really well together. And I had a great publisher and a publisher's assistant that really helped me find the perfect book cover.
I love it. It's really unique. And, it is that, just that concept, let's stay on it for just a moment here, but it is that concept in business, and especially when you're a seasoned professional, and that's what I call myself. And I believe, or I know you are one, where you have so many years, in a particular vertical market, in a particular industry, you can succumb to that, not seeing the trees through the forest, right? Or not seeing the forest through the trees, or whatever that saying is, right? Where,
Correct.
Like you said, and you can become comfortable in the cave, like you said, and I know in your book, as I read through it, I think that you really walk that line, especially in leadership of, okay, we're walking the line. We see what's at the end. Do we want to get off to the right or to the left? We don't want to get off too much because, we've got that comfort part and things are going okay, right? They might be going, we're traveling the right path, and they might be going so. They're not going exactly how we want, but that might require us, getting out of the corporate cave, maybe looking at it that way. I think that's a lot of some of the great advice that you have in this book. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh, yes, very much so. I wanted to make sure that people knew that you need to trust more than what someone just tells you to do. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to ask why. But the way to do it is being respectful and being curious, not being demanding and saying, well, why? I don't want to do it that way. Why do I got to do it that way? That is where problems will come into play. If you respect the person who you're speaking to and they're showing you the same respect, it's going to be a whole new world, a whole new culture within your your business that you're running. And that's where where I see a lot of places, not all, but there are a lot of places out there that have that downfall because of the leadership that they have. Leadership and management are two different things. A leadership is, helping push their people along and guiding them, whereas management is just dragging them along no matter whether they agree or not. So you want to make sure you're guiding your team and, like pushing them through where they need to go, and just keep in mind that they need guidance. And if they ask a question, be respectful and answer the question. And lots of times some people just don't like to do that. But that's where our world is. That's, you need to be respectful and answer questions. Why?
Absolutely. And you packed a lot into what you just said. I want to just look into some of it. So you do talk about your why. And, to be honest, I mean, this is a business book, and there's a lot of business books that have that statement about, asking your why. But what I like that's different in your book about it, and you actually didn't even mention it, but because I've read the book and I know your professional background, is your why. When you ask your why, and you continue to ask it, and even when it was unpopular for you to ask it, I believe that helped shape and build your career, ending in one of your businesses as a COO.
Very, very much so, because
right.
I have to know the why. That's my temperament. I have to know the why.
And so for that, so it's a bigger, it's bigger advice to those people listening, or those, young women or young men that are in the point in their career of saying, I'm not content at this level. I'm not content, at this level. I want to, aspire for my next position. What the advice you give here is, not only know your why, but ask it and continue to ask it. And if you ask it, and another thing you just mentioned, leadership and management are two different skill sets. If you find yourself in an organization and you're asking and it's falling on deaf ears, or it's even maybe, reflecting negative on you, jump ship, right? That's not the place that you're going to define that.
It's not the right place. Correct.
So I love that you bring that other dimension in your book, Get Out of the Corporate Cave, that way to your why. The other thing that I heard from you now in just, a few minutes into this podcast, you've already mentioned it a few times. You've mentioned the word respect. And as I read that book, your book, I saw that theme coming through there, where, you'll give business advice, but you then also back it of, respectfully, talk to someone with respect, give respect. And, so important. And also I want to say, knowing you as we do, I mean, that is the way that you live your life and how you move through this world just professionally. So maybe talk about, can you share a story or some part of that's in your book regarding how you feel, how significant respect is, mutual respect is in the corporate cave, as you call it?
Well, what happens is I've seen many, many situations over my many years, and I've seen too many times where the manager type role, they will go to somebody and they would say, I need you to call this parent, or I need you to call this client, I need you to do, this or that. And it's never backed up with a, hey, Mimi, can you do me a favor and give this parent or this client or this vendor a call? Let them know we're having some issues with the situation and we'll get back to them. What I would see is just call them. And then you've got the person who they're speaking to, one, irritated that they were spoken to in such a manner, and two, they don't know why they're calling. They're just calling and saying, oh, there's a problem, she'll get back to you, or he'll get back to you. Well, that parent or that client or that vendor on the phone is going to be very much in the manner of, well, why? And then that person that was tasked with that call is going to be feeling, insignificant because they didn't know or ignorant because they didn't know what to answer with. So it's always best to be very respectful and say, and do it the first way that I stated, and say, listen, tell them that we're just trying to find out all the reasons of what happened, and then we'll give them a call back and just let them know I'm not ignoring them. I'm just trying to find out blah, 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 blah. And, and then you have other things where if you have somebody who, let's say you're changing the way something is done, and you go out there and you go, don't do it like that anymore.
Right.
Okay. Well, how would you like me to do it?
Right.
And they're like, and they go, just do it this way. That's all you need to know. But in this day and age, we have these young men and women who people like to quote unquote call millennials. I've got nothing against millennials. I think they're wonderful because they have shown us, how to ask the why. I've always worked that way, but others have not. And so it becomes a problem for the management mindset versus the leadership mindset. So when you go to one of these young men or women and say, don't do it that way, just do it this way from now on, they're going to go, why? And they're going to be marked as argumentative when all they are is asking, why did we change? That's what it's going to be. But it's just people don't want to sit there and realize that we're no longer in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So you have to, and even 90s, you have to ask, you have to give these answers. You have to, you can still tell them and give them the reasonings why, because to be honest, I've always been that way. I've always asked why. When it was the, time where the boss said jump and you said, okay, how high? I would jump and then I would go, but why did I just do that? So,
right.
That's just how I am, but I know how to speak respectfully. And that's where some people don't realize it's all in the tone and in the body language and facial expressions that you use to ask the questions.
Another good point. No, absolutely. Another good point where you talk about it's the how you phrase the sentence, or it's the approach that you use that's also, equally important. I agree with that. As you were talking, I was remembering, in my career as a former tech CEO with employees and the such and levels of the organization, I would say quite a bit. I don't care. And I'd say it to myself, to be honest, sometimes when I felt that maybe I wasn't looking at something the right way, I would say to myself, don't care how you do it, just care that it's done. Right. And I do agree with you in terms of, you said, maybe the younger, the millennial generation and that, they're full of whys, and it can be a great thing. If as a business, a C-level or a business owner is truly open to the ideas. And that means, not I'll just hear your idea and then we'll go back to doing everything the way we thought we should be doing it, but really open to the idea and that open possibility, like I said, where, just care that it's done. And quite possibly they're going to find a better way to do it. They're going to bring like you would ask why. Maybe you have a better solution that would be more efficient, that would, increase the net revenue, for the company and all of that. But if it's shut down, then the other thing, actually, I was just having breakfast with a gentleman last week. And he is very seasoned, has been doing mastermind C-level coaching for, I think, 25 years. So like way before his time in terms of that industry. And his thing was saying that sometimes that C-level mentality doesn't even get that basically once a person brings on their team some like different idea, and then the C-level person will say, okay, I heard you out. Now let's go back doing it my way. Basically, they shut that person down from all new ideas, period. Because why would they present it again, right?
Right. You've just scared them or you've upset them, or you've offended them greatly, because